Are you a Thrustmaster? Well, if you are, there's new settings for you on the T598, which I've been testing out. And by the way, if you want to become a Thrustmaster, check out my affiliate links in descriptions for the best price on the products. Now, this is a T598 wheelbase. It's renowned for basically getting really hot and disconnecting, but it's also the cheapest way you can go direct drive sim racing on PlayStation, which is really important because Gran Turismo is on PlayStation. And like I said, they've come out with new options for settings, new firmware, including something called Engine Raw. And this hasn't come from Katy Perry, this has come from the people at Thrustmaster. And I've come up in this video with new settings for Gran Turismo 7. So these are my new settings. I know you guys and girls really liked my existing settings, but new firmware, new options means I've refreshed it. So in this video, I'm going to show you all of the settings. I'm going to make sure that you're absolutely maximizing your thrust mastering. You are going to be a thrust master. Now, before we dive into the individual settings, like all the bits on T598 base that we're going to go through, it's important to understand what are the strengths and limitations of the T598. So the weakness of the T598, in my opinion, is when it drops off. When you feel like you don't have much information. That's partly because compared to LOGITECH, it doesn't have true force. Compared to Fanatec, it doesn't have full force. Both LOGITECH and Fanatec are now working in Gran Turismo 7 if you have the right bases, which is G923, RS50, G Pro, or Club Sport DD+. Like, that's it. So if the T598 wants to compete with those, it needs to have more detail. That's been added in the settings that I'm going to show you. And once you build that in, you can enjoy the strengths of the T598, which for me are a really kind of like granular, actually quite detailed force feedback, and a very smooth force feedback. The base is exceptionally smooth in my opinion. They went for this direct axial drive system. They talk about no cogging. I've been around the world, I've spoken to inventors at other brands. They are skeptical about the no cogging, but it makes sense to me. Like, it's very smooth. You can see that the shaft just rotates even when the base is not powered on. Whether that matters, because once you power on the base, the magnet's working all different, but it's a smooth base essentially. So what we want to do in these settings is we want to get the minimum sensations up but retain that detail. So as you can see here, we're in a GT3 at Spa, actually in a Ferrari 296, and I'm using the SF1000 wheel, and Thrustmaster has a tie-up with Ferrari, so will we see a 296 GT3 wheel? I'd love to see that. But we're on the Formula wheel at the moment, which is the cheapest wheel on PlayStation that has a screen. Maybe it's kind of the only wheel on PlayStation that has a screen that actually works of this size as well. So a little bit of an underrated wheel. And as I come into the bus stop here, you can look at my hands. We've synced it up with the footage. You can see I'm feeling the force feedback. I'm feeling where the grip is. It's quite a fun experience. So the Thrustmaster settings are very confusing on the wheelbase. You wouldn't know off the bat what to do or why they're called what they are. Sometimes it's just like what appears to be a random number or random letter. I would say Egyptian hieroglyphics are easier to understand if you have no prior knowledge than Thrustmaster T598 settings. However, what I'm basically doing is cranking a lot of them up, but not all of them. Okay? And the consequence of the ones that I've cranked up is that my base does run hot. I did a live stream with Sam, professional karter in the UK, who was absolutely hammering it on these settings, and the wheelbase does get hot. Now, I understand the design of the wheelbase, it has the passive cooling, it doesn't have a fan in there, so it has to vent that heat out via the casing, but that does mean it ends up going into plastic. And I have not had a disconnect issue with my version of the T598, which is a review version for Thrustmaster that came very early off the production line. Okay, let's get into the settings. Okay, so this is latest firmware as I recorded 3.08. So we're on 3 on the FFB. Master is 100%. Extreme mode, that's the E. Inertia on extreme. I told you we'd be in extreme something. Friction on high because I want that detail. Boost low 0. Boost high 0. Speed is extreme. The damp is on 0 to be responsive. Game damper gain is low. Spring 5%. Gear jolt is high. I like the gear jolt. And engine roar is high. Now I'm just cycling through to show you that this is a new setting. Engine roar is high. So what does engine roar do? Is it a competitor to true force or full force? Now, I've extensively used true force. I've extensively used full force. I've been to real circuits and I've sat in cars and revved them, and I've driven cars at high speed, and I've compared it all with what you get through the wheelbase. Something I really like about true force and full force is that when you're sat in the pits, idling the car, and maybe you press the throttle, you feel it come through your wheelbase. Your wheelbase is normally, if you're on a rig, it's quite securely attached to your rig. It vibrates the rig as well, and it's a similar sensation to when you're sitting in a powerful car. It's revving and you feel that power through the vibrations. I like that. Okay, now what true force and full force also do is, as you're actually driving the car and you go over, say, painted surfaces, or you go over grass or dirt or curbs, you also get those vibrations. I'm not sure how sophisticated it is. There's a lot of it that I think is due to existing audio. I'm sure there's some really clever stuff in converting it, but I think existing audio is doing a lot of the heavy lifting there. But it is differentiating between the surfaces you're driving on, which makes it really satisfying to attack curbs. You understand when you've bitten off a bit more and you're on the dirt now, you can feel it, and subconsciously you kind of like apply a bit more angle to get back on the circuit. So it works really well. Engine roar does not do that. Okay, engine roar is very limited to the RPM and therefore in many ways the speed of your car. Now, I tested this out at Daytona, just going across some grass at high speed, and the engine roar did not change. Because my RPMs and my speed and everything was the same, the sensation I was getting through the wheel was the same. If I was on a Logitech base or a Fanatec base with true force or full force respectively, as I went over that different surface, I would 100% expect to get a different vibration. So it's not quite as good as true force or full force, in my opinion. There are different settings. The different settings you do also kind of like, I don't know if clipping is the right word, but they have a different cutoff for the engine roar, because the Thrustmaster, I think, don't want it to drown out the road noise. Now they've done it in a hieroglyphic way in the settings that doesn't really explain that. I recommend doing it in the settings that I've set up here. I also want to show you in Gran Turismo as well what settings I have on the base here. So it's my 8 and 3. I think maybe before I was on 2, but I've gone up to 3 now. But I think on a base like this, to be honest, it's the wheelbase settings that are doing a lot of the heavy lifting. And you can see in this race in the background, this is on the hardest difficulty, and I've gone from last to first. Or are we first? Yeah, we're first now. So the settings do work for me, but engine roar is not. It's not better than full force or true force, in my opinion. However, if you have a T598, I recommend putting it on. Asterisk, caveat, warning. It does seem to make your wheelbase run hot, or I'm using it and my wheelbase runs hot. So please subscribe if this video has helped you. Remember to use my affiliate links if you buy anything from Thrustmaster. Hopefully you appreciate my very honest commentary and analysis on their products, and I will see you in the next video.